Hey, it's Creative Juice by Lonnie here to show you how to make a theater fold card. It folds flat to fit in an envelope, but then when you open it up, you've got a little stage. I'll be posting the measurements down below, so don't worry about trying to catch them as you go. But if I go too quickly, feel free to pause your video and listen a section at a time. You'll start with a piece of cardstock, and you're going to cut it in half at 5.5 inches, and then cut the other one section in half at 4.25 inches. So you've got 2 of those pieces. Set those aside. Then you're going to cut this piece down to 5 3/8 inch. So just an 1/8 of an inch off this side. Using your Stampin' trimmer, you're going to use the scoring blade. So remember, that is the light one. You will score this at 1 1/16 and then 2 5/8. Again, all of these measurements will be in the cutting guide. Then you want to turn it and cut it to just a smidge over 4. It could be 4 1/16. So that's the very first notch. A 1/16 is the very first tick mark and in the larger side of your ruler. With those 2 pieces that are scored with the 2 score marks, you want to fold them in a Z fold like this. Use your bone folder to get a nice crisp fold. Do it the same direction on both of them. With each one of these, you're going to take the first score mark and line it up at the 1/2 inch line on the right side of your trimmer. That's the second line. So you're going to line up that score line, push it to the top, bring in your trimmer, and come down a 1/2 inch. If you need help to see what those numbers are, if you're using a dark color, you can use a piece of white right here to find the 1/2 inch mark. And then you're going to just cut down for 1 inch. So from the 1/2 inch to 1.5 inches. We're going to do the same thing on the other one, but from the bottom. So you line up this first score line with the 1/2 inch mark. And now we're going to come from the bottom. We'll put our piece of white paper in here so we can see. Since this is just over 4 inches, we're going to do it we're coming in a 1/2 inch, so just to about 3.5 inches, and you're going to score it down to 2.5 inches, or cut it down to 2.5 inches. So when these 2 pieces are together like this, both of those slits are on the bottom. You will also need 2 pieces of the same colored cardstock that are 3/4 inch by 6.25 inches, and you're going to score them at 1 inch on each side. Again, remember to use your scoring blade. We do have an inch mark out here, so you can score them and score them. You could score the paper before you cut it. If you had a 1.5 inch by 6.25 inches, you could cut it, score it, and then cut it right down the center like that. Before we put away your trimmer, there's one other piece we need to cut. You need a 4.25 by 1.25 piece of cardstock, just one of these, and we're going to cut it into the shape of an I. So a capital letter I. So we're going to put it at the 1/2 inch mark, and we're going to cut down 1/4 inch and up 1/4 inch. Same thing on the other side. So we're going to, this time you're going to line it up on the first line, which is a 1/4 inch measurement. And we're going to cut 1/2 inch in, because that's where we started. We came in a 1/2 inch. So 1/2 inch down to 3 3/4. Then when you take that off, you have this piece. Same thing on the other side. We're going to measure out to 1/4 inch. And you can go the other direction. So you can go, we're at 3 3/4 inches here, and we're going to go up to 1/2 inch. And that's right where we started the other horizontal lines in. So now you have this capital letter I. The next step is to take a piece of designer series paper that is cut to 4 inches by 5 1/4 inch, and you can use either side. Actually, we're going to use both sides. This is from the Whale of a Time designer series paper, but you can use whatever paper is matching your project. And you're going to cut a window in the front of both of these using the 4th largest stitched rectangle framelit. I did not glue this down, I just cut it out. I'm going to cut this piece in half at 2 inches. Now that I've cut these pieces, this is just under 2 inches actually, just barely under the 2 inch line to make it in half. You're going to glue this onto the front of your card. Next, you'll take the 2 pieces that we've scored the ends from and fold them in. You won't need this piece, so you can save that for another project. The easiest way is to use your multi-purpose adhesive glue, because this has a little bit of wiggle room as you are gluing it down. So glue both of the backs of those tabs, and we'll put it right on the back of the card on the right and left side. One last thing before we set this aside to dry is to punch a hole through both of those layers right in the middle. So you can take your ruler or your grid paper, mark it at 2 1/8 on both sides. And punch about 1/3 of a hole of a circle right onto that measurement. The next step is to take these 2 pieces that you've scored and cut a little slit in, and you want to make sure that the slits are both at the bottom with the scored sections towards the center. You're going to glue both of these to the other large 1/4 sheet of cardstock. And you want these to be right in the center. So it's easiest if you just kind of lay it down like this. A little gap at the top and a little gap at the bottom. You can kind of wiggle that glue while it's still wet to line up on both sides. So it opens like this. For the background, you will need a 3 by 4 inch piece of designer series paper or cardstock. If you have any stamping to do, now is the time to do it. We're almost done with the assembly. Next, you'll want to insert your I-beam, but if you would like to add any designer series paper to help it blend into the background, now is the time. Then you'll just fold one of the little tabs back, and you'll insert it from this side carefully, not to rip your cardstock, and through the other side. Then it's time to embellish as you would like to. With this one, we're going to use our whale stamp and the coordinating punch. Next, we will insert our stage into the proscenium by putting these both sides through the little pieces that hold it together on the back. Here's our last step, and that is just to add the curtains to your theater. This can be the back side of the paper you've already used, or a different designer series paper, or the same paper, the same side of the paper. Make sure that when you are gluing this down, you get the edges and the corners so that they do not interfere with the opening of the mechanism. You'll notice I glued those right through the window on the fronts to make sure that they are in the right spot. Then once your card is dry, it is ready for delivery and bringing a smile to someone's face.